That's interesting. I can't hear. You're on
Oh
mute.
my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's start again. Welcome, Daniel Breaston. Um, it's been a long day. We're going to talk about a very important subject today. I think it is mental health in organizations, but more to the point, organizations and people's ability to solve problems. If there's maybe uh, not that great environment in which people work. So just a quick shout out. Hello, Io. Hello, Kamal. Hello, Suzanne. Nice to have you guys here. Sorry, Suzanne, and I was having a momentary lapse of reason again, as usual. Um, so, Daniel, do you want to
Yes.
kick the conversation up because you chose the subject or the topic?
So, first of all, Johan, hi everybody. Hi folks. Thank you, Johan, for letting me get onto a soapbox for a second. Um, I used to be a CIO of an organization, and then I became a senior consultant. And along the way, I fell in love with, like everybody in our organization, in our business. Some part of you falls in love with IT service management. Some part of you falls in love with DevOps or Agile, and some part of you falls in love with Lean. And I went really hard for Lean, and I went hard for value stream management. And I was post-it noting everywhere and getting people into rooms and doing all kinds of stuff. And even during COVID, when the things like Miro and Mural came up, I was still able to play with my post-it notes. And while I was impressed sometimes, frustrated mostly at the outcomes that we were achieving, I never took the time, because remember, I was a CIO or a senior person. I never took the time to ask people. So here we are trying to innovate. How are we doing? Here we are trying to problem solve. How are we doing? And more importantly, how are you doing? What impact is this having on you? Because I'm telling you to do it, but I've never asked you how you felt. And out of frustration, one day I received a LinkedIn message from an ex employee saying, "You know, I loved you and respected you. You were a great AS400 manager. You gave me all kinds of empowerment, stuff like that. But goodness gracious, I hate you at the same time because you really messed with my head. And you put a lot of pressure on teams. And and he just, it was a long, you know, love letter, quote unquote." And it got me to reflect that you hear about people with well-being issues or mental health issues or whatever, and you well, maybe you never, I never, I'll raise my hand, I never took the time to consider the impact of what I was asking on my teams. There was an expectation of 24 by 7 by 365 that I learned growing up. If you wanted to be an associate director or a director of an American bank, financial services that was running 30 to 40% of the daily transaction volume of every exchange in the United States and a quarter of the exchanges in Europe, you never turned your phone off. You never turned your pager off, even if you were on holiday. you were available.
Yeah.
And that was part of my upbringing. And I've got degrees. They never talked about mental health and well-being. ITIL courses never talked about mental health and well-being. DevOps never talked about mental health and well-being. Agile courses never talked about mental health and well-being. We've never taken the time as we want to innovate and problem solve to solve the problem of our people innovating in a safe environment, safe for them and safe for the organization. So I'm wondering whether or not that resonates with you. I'm wondering whether or not that resonates with the other people that are on this call. We're trying to make it a focus point at ITSMF UK's annual conference. Sorry for the shameless plug, but there it is. In November, we want to highlight the fact that our industry has individuals that need to be able to safely say, "Hey, boss, I've got a problem. Don't kill me for saying that. Help me instead. I'm depressed. I'm drinking. I have anxiety. I don't sleep. My wife hates me. My dog doesn't let me walk it anymore. Whatever." Okay. But, this is a major issue. And I think it hinders our ability to innovate. That digital transformation marketing term, the digital's easy, right? 90% of the world's IT departments went digital. Yeah. Okay. You're digital. Transformation's tough. Transformation hurts. If transformation doesn't hurt, you're doing something wrong, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to hurt.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't know how to, at all levels, don't know how to deal with that hurt. And maybe, if we want to innovate and we need to innovate, I mean, what you've been creating since 2019 has been that innovation of, being adaptive, being blending stuff in, not being tied to stuff necessarily. That's a great way to get people together to solve a problem. And I think the problem now to solve is when we say transformation, what the heck do we mean? When we say empowerment, what the heck do we mean? Those are very
Yeah.
scary words.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Yeah, the tech bit is easy. The people bit is hard because we've never been trained really, either formally or informally. Yeah. As you say, we just did the work, and what do they say? Cowboys don't cry type of thing. Yeah. And never thought of the social impact that we have on other people. Yeah. Um, yeah. And um, if you are not in a place where you can detach from the difficult things around you, how can I expect you to focus on what's difficult in front of you? It's impossible. Yeah. Um, and simple little things, just and I say that for myself. I would walk into the room and say, "Hello, everybody, what, and continue to talk. Instead of actually looking somebody in the eye and saying, "How are you? What's up? How are you doing?" Um, um, what was the work that we talked about last week like? Yeah. What was your experience? Yeah. How do you feel about it? Yeah. Um, and I think that's an encouraging thing is that maybe the not our generation people are better at that. They seem to realize um, that you can't be a good worker unless you're a complete worker. Um, by the way, hello Matthew, nice to have you here. And mental health is a big thing. We see it over and over if we're working in organizations we try to solve problems, is that in our methods we had to build in ways of protecting people from what Netflix would call brilliant jerks. Um,
Yep.
I, I've got a rule now and says if you diverge, you do it alone. If you converge, you do it as a group. And the reason why I let people diverge alone is so that nobody can say to them it's a stupid idea. Um, because that's the last time that that person will have the courage to speak up and come up with an idea. And let's face it, we all come up with stupid ideas from time to time. Um, so,
It,
how do
it,
you how
go
do you
ahead.
encourage that more human side of working with a team? What do you think we need to do to make sure that teams are safe so that they can focus?
Well, first of all, if I talk to the head of human resources, and I'm not very transparently answering a discussion that's happening in chat, but I talk to the head of human resources as a CIO on a daily basis. I never once asked the head of human resources, what do I have to do to make sure that my team is safe? And the head of human resources never once asked me, what are you doing to make your people safe? It wasn't a priority.
Mm,
It wasn't a priority at the board table. It wasn't a priority for the CEO, and it wasn't a priority for me. My priority was to get product out, right? Ship first, fix later. Now, you know,
yeah.
and I know that it should be fix first, ship later. But,
Oh, that's lean, yes.
okay, you know, get it out. You're late. You're already overrunning. And then we'll look at it later. We never understood the impact of that on staff. Top
Yeah.
down. We never understood the impact of that on staff. So if your organization's leaders aren't willing to commit, then you've got a problem. So I read a book by David Marquette, Lieutenant Commander, or something like that, David Marquette. And his book was about leadership in words. Okay. And he had
Okay.
some great exercises. And he said, how brave are you? Put the word empowerment, put the word change, put the word transformation, put the word, whatever word you want to put on there, culture, bonus, on a card, big card. Put a stack of post-it notes into a conference room. Put these cards up on a wall and walk away. Let people come in and they put their own comment. Don't sign it. Put your own comment onto those cards. Okay. And then you come in as a leader and you look at those words and you see whether or not, when you say empowerment, do they have a clue as to what it is that you're saying? Or do you have a clue as to what it is that you're saying? When you're doing value
Yeah.
stream mapping exercises, the goal is not to create a map. The goal is to create a management led and facilitated practice that allows individuals that are doing day to day work to iteratively improve that day to day work. And their goal as a
Mhm.
leader is to remove obstacles. So you don't come in as a
Yeah.
leader. I mean, when Karen Martin wrote the book, it's very clear. The leader in the room leaves the room. There should be some decision makers still in the room, but the actual big guy, girl, lady, person, go away. And whatever they come up with is right. That's a mental shift.
Mm.
Okay. I don't agree with anything you guys have drawn, but I'm going to let
Yeah.
you go ahead and do it. And I'm going to look at you and I'm going to tell you that this is, I'm supporting this. Let's see what happens. Okay. I'm not going to laugh. I'm not going to sneer. let's see what happens. That's a big commitment of change in an individual. But if people don't see that
Mm.
change at the senior levels, what's in it for them?
Yeah. You know what? It makes me think of this issue. Quite often I speak to people and say, all of this new practices that we talk about, okay, some of them is actually not that new. Yeah. Can you imagine? I mean, Glenn is 70 years old. Um, and still we think of it as new. But in any case, when we talk about these new practices, we say to people, but you need to trust people and you need to empower people to make decisions and stuff like that. And then the first response is normally, yeah, but people first need to show that they're trustworthy. It says, no, no, you've got it the wrong way around. You first need to show that you can be trusted, so that people can be honest with you and stop hiding stuff from you because they can't be honest with you. And let's be
It,
honest, how many big issues goes wrong in organizations because people cannot acknowledge that they made a mistake and it's swept under the rug.
and I think that's where Suzanne, you know, her comment, this is a team mentality. How do you create a great team? There's your mental health. The first team is the management team.
Yeah.
We're not talking about scrum teams. We're not talking about ops teams. We're not talking about DevOps teams. We're talking about the first team is the management team. How do they manage the well-being and the health of staff? How do they manage the well-being and the health of relationships with providers, outsourcers? Everybody today
Mm.
needs a nobody today is standalone. When I was a single consultant, you know, I didn't make this phone work by itself. Thankfully, right?
Yeah.
I needed somebody. I needed to manage that relationship. And when that phone didn't work, I went nuts.
Mm.
You need to be able to get through that somehow and to create an environment. And I'm not saying this is easy. This doesn't roll off the tongue. Okay. There are no silver bullets that are coming out here. This is work. This is transformation is work. Okay. And so it's and it's a discussion that needs to happen. And it's a discussion that I think is being forced to happen, as you said, Johan, by the kids.
Mm.
Okay. And I say kids only because I'm almost 70 and I've been doing this for 52 years. But the kids that are coming into the environment are saying, I want to work for you, but hold on, wait a minute. Actually, you know what? I don't want to work for you. I'm on my own. And they
Yeah.
go and do digital transformation in their bedroom and they create a market and they're happy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
You,
this.
boss, is an employee of worth.
Yeah. And that's what employers need to realize today is that unless you create an environment that's fit for people to work in, where they can have work-life balance, you will not have employees, or you'll only be able to employ the desperate. And that's a scary thought. Yeah. Um, because I see that my kids, yeah, and so I'm not picking on other people. I'm just talking about my kids. They are very hardworking, diligent, intelligent people. But if they feel they're being treated unfairly, they speak up and they say tough shit. Yeah, if you don't want to deal with this, I'm leaving. Yeah, I'm not going to make this my life. And I
Yeah.
wish I actually had the courage to do that when I was younger. Yeah, um, because the expense at which not speaking up came, in my own relationship with my family, wasn't worth it.
So my first CEO in 1973 I should have learned more from him, but I was just a third shift computer operator or tape librarian or service desk analyst. You did all of the roles combined back then. But Ben would walk around the bank and the branches of the bank with a notebook, and he would always ask everybody he saw, and he was in the computer room a lot. He'd ask everybody he saw this one question: will you be able to service customers or help staff as needed tomorrow? And if you're not, tell me why. And then he would write that down, no blame, didn't say who told him. He would walk into his office, which in the true sense of a, Texas CEO was a very big office. And he would walk over to his board, which had the top names of directors that worked for him, and he'd put that piece of paper on that person's name. Now, he never talked to that person, but everyone knew the expectation was to regularly go in and check, is there a piece of paper underneath your name? And because he would go back, and if he heard the same story 2, 3, 4 times later, there was a different name at the top of the org chart.
Yeah.
He wanted people to be able to say, I've got a problem, and he wanted people to know that it was going to be worked on. That to me is solving problems.
Yeah.
And allowing individuals to innovate to solve that problem. I never carried that. For the next 20 years, I forgot that lesson. And until I got back into, having somebody from the Lean Enterprise Institute beat me over the head with a wine bottle, fortunately not a very good wine bottle, but with a wine bottle, I forgot that. And then I worked hard to try to correct my ways. Not always successfully, but hey, change is hard.
Yeah.
I think the other
Okay, so
thing is that we, there's this concentration on metrics, and there's this concentration on indicators of performance that are key, and we forget the key part. Key to who? Because if they're not key
Yeah.
to the outcome that's being achieved, it's not key. It's a great indicator, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. And the same with outcome key results. Key to
Yeah.
who? And we forget
Yeah.
the who part. And I think,
Yeah.
we need to
And
relook at the way that we're telling people mean time to this, or, do this indicator, or what. If the indicator is not, Jeff Gottlieb and Barry O'Reilly, I think, say it quite succinctly. If everybody involved in the process of getting that KPI or OKR doesn't understand the KPI or OKR and wasn't involved in the creation of the KPI or OKR, prepared to not have the KPI or OKR not be met.
yeah. And there's another thing, and it's in the name actually. You can't have 100 KPIs, because then none of them is key. You can maybe have 2, 3, 4, maybe 5. And yeah, if I see the control regimes of organizations, and then they wonder why there's no control, I just go, yeah, no wonder. Yeah, you can't say 300 things is a priority, because then nothing is a priority. Yeah. So people need to understand what is a priority. They need to understand why it's a priority. And then we need to understand that, how we're going to deal with it collectively as a team. Because you can't make it one person's problem. And
No.
similarly, you also can't make it everybody's problem. Yeah, because then it's nobody's problem.
Yep.
Um,
And I think that extends into the way that we've created SLAs or XLAs.
Yes.
Okay. We've forgotten the word agreement. So you
Yeah.
go in, or I go in, or a senior person like Matthew or Suzanne walks in and says, "Can I see who you agreed this with?" Well, I wrote it. Yeah, but who'd you agree it with? Well, I told my team. Okay, what part of the last word are you not getting in this discussion called agreement?
Love it.
Right?
Love
Okay,
it.
it's an
Yeah.
agreement that you're going to do a certain level for service. I mean, I'm always taking these terms and putting them backwards because people are taking the words and forgetting about them. And oh, by the way, another discussion that's happening in the comment section. All I will say to some of the comments is it's not wine. Now, you all can take that as you want.
Okay. Well, I can guess it's not water.
It's not water.
Yeah. I actually forgot to bring something before I walked into the office. So I'm very jealous at the moment. Is it jealous? No, it's not jealous.
This gray
It's
hair
also not jealous,
experience,
but
Johan.
yeah. Okay. So I think we sort of coming up for the half. Let's try and something. Can you believe it? It's quick, eh?
It's quick.
Um, if yeah, if you thought about it when I reached out, you must probably said half an hour. That's a long time. What am I going to say all this time? Anyway, let's try and wrap up. Um, what are three things leaders, and I'm using the word leader, not manager, okay,
Top.
um, can do to facilitate, first of all, mental health within their team? And what are three things that a leader can do to facilitate better problem solving in their team? Let's assume the first one of those is to create a better mental health environment. So three additional things. Yeah.
So
What would you say?
the first thing you have to do as a leader is ask the question, how is my mental health?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The second thing you have to do is ask as a leader, when I use the word problem solve or solve problems or digital transformation or empowerment, what the hell, excuse my French, folks, but what the hell do I mean? Because I don't even know what the heck
Okay.
I'm saying. I look at some
Yeah.
report, okay, and I have no idea what I'm saying. The next thing is am I involved enough to be able to know that there's an issue? So I'll give you my favorite example. Most leaders get 12 reports a year. They get a monthly report. Fantastic. That means they have 11 times during the year to be able to ask for a change, and 10 times or 9 times during the year to see whether or not the change worked. And that's usually like 4 or 5 months later. Now, if you're scrummy, you should get at least 24 reports a year. If you're DevOps or lean or ITIL 4 or adaptive, you should be getting some type of message every day. The health of your organization. Okay. And I think, it takes a brave CIO, and I'm not on Twitter anymore. I left Twitter, but back in the early days, it took a brave CIO to get onto the Twitter channel when the bank was failing at Christmas. It was day 3, and say, mea culpa. I approve this change. Kill me, not my teams. Okay. And you need to be able to come out of your skin as a leader and hold up your hands and go, I'm as impacted by our inability to solve problems and to innovate as you guys are. Tools are no longer the issue.
Yeah.
Technology is there to help you innovate. Technology is there to help you do the digital. Technology is not there to help you do the transformation. I'm sorry, that's a human thing.
Mm.
Okay.
I
If you're not
completely agree.
changing the way that you're doing stuff, all the technology in the world isn't going to help you. You're still doing the same old, and your competitor who got the message, they're looking good. They don't
Yeah.
have this particular issue. Okay. I think the best place for CIO, CEO, CMO, CFO, CHRO, whatever C thingy you can give me, should spend a minimum of 2 hours a week, and I would ask more, but 2 hours a week in the service desk. Just sit there,
Okay.
just listen. What's really happening? Because your service desk knows the truth. They know the good things and the bad things that are happening in your organization. They know the good people and the bad people. They know the people that need help. They know the people that need training. They know the applications and services that are working really well. And they know the applications and services that, frankly, you should have turned off 200 years ago.
Mm.
And if you're not learning from the service desk, then I think that's a shame. I mean, Harvard Business Review wrote an article years ago saying that you should have three mentors in your organization: someone above you, someone at your level, and someone way below you. And the person way below you sees things completely different than your person at your level and the person above you. And you need to listen to the third person first.
Mm. Love it.
Okay. And
Yeah.
I think that goes away toward then sending a message out to the organization. We have things to do. We're going to fix first and ship later. We're going to discuss what's happening, and we can't reduce the pressure. We have to stay alive as a business. Sorry, folks. Okay.
Mm.
But what we can do is try to reduce the pain and really show that that's happening. Define empowerment with guardrails that are clear. Define
Mm.
problem solving as, a flow of activity. Define innovation as a flow of activity and get people involved. Okay. Be
Yeah.
brave. Ask everybody, which SLA would you burn first? Which metric do you hate the most? Okay.
Love
That
it.
and then trash that one. Just rip it up. Just
Mm.
in front of everybody. Just rip it up. Okay. And see the expression on people's faces as they go, is he serious or is he messing with us? Okay. Because you have to now do this every day. Once you start on this journey, the moment you go back, they're gone.
Yeah. I agree.
Right. 2 clicks and they found a
Yeah.
new job.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you
Absolutely.
tell your clients? What would you add to that, Johan?
Well, I just want to reaffirm so many things. And what's wonderful to me is the fact that so much of what you said is actually 70-year-old wisdom that comes from Lean. And on cord. Don't ship stuff that doesn't work. Gemba walks. Spend time with your people. Reduce your metrics. Have a daily a day board. Have a week board. You know, um, divide your time between your team, your peers, and the people that you report to. All of that stuff comes from lean thinking, from lean leadership. I just wish more people would embrace those white and red books that Jeffrey Liker. If you see a book with it that says lean and it's red and white, you know it's good. You can buy it. Um, what I would definitely add is I would make my control regime simpler um, as an addition. So I love the fact that you say, yeah, choose one. I don't want to choose one. I want to choose quite a few because I don't
Yeah.
think the team can focus on more than 10 things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I would definitely encourage people to speak up more about issues, not people. Um, because unfortunately, people find it really difficult to draw the distinction between an issue and a person. Um, as a leader, I would intervene more when, as a there's a brilliant book about Netflix. It's called No Rules Rules. And one of the things that the Netflix people say they don't do is they don't allow for brilliant jerks in the environment. Yeah, for those people who just dominate the conversation because we all have got something to contribute. Um, and as a leader, I will spend time with, and quite oftenly they are the most competent in our organization to try and help them understand what the value is of giving everybody a voice. Um, because it is the janitor that saw the problem that you didn't.
Yep. Yep. It's exactly right.
Awesome.
I think
Yeah.
everybody has read the book The Phoenix Project by now.
Yeah.
Okay. I think you should read another series of books which is more lean oriented but still in IT called the Goldmine Trilogy by Michael
Okay.
Ballet.
No, I haven't read those. Gold Mine
Balle.
Trilogy. Okay. Let
Dr.
me make a
Dr.
note.
Ballet wrote a book because some smartass Texan challenged him to write a lean book that didn't have anything to do with manufacturing.
Okay.
And so he did. And then he wrote another book. And then he wrote another book because he realized that he needed to have a trilogy to be able to say everything that he wanted to say in applying lean, DevOps, whatever, to his world.
Mm.
And the people that helped him write it were the same people, were part of the same team that helped write the Phoenix Project.
Okay.
So there was a great interaction between the authors of that and some people that were actually in the business. And so it's a good set to have and to help
Okay.
understand. It doesn't go far enough, but it lays a good groundwork.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. It's 40 minutes. I'm gonna call an end to the conversation. No. That's not a reflection of. It's a reflection of the importance of the conversation. I think. So, Daniel, once again, it's been awesome to have you on the show, and I hope you will honor me again by being a guest sometime in the future. And maybe we should continue this conversation. Um, and in the meantime, I'll find out what complements the content of your Batman jug, and make sure that um, a I've got a tin mug. Um, so for those of you who don't know, I'm a proud veteran, and in my Veterans Association, we've got a tin mug that takes. It looks small, but it takes 2 beers. So I can say I'm only going to have one beer when we get together.
Well,
Awesome,
this
everyone.
is
Thank you for your time. Thanks for listening. I had a whale of a time.
thanks everyone.
Daniel, just stay on. Let me do the close out.